You're with me, Dr. Pam, on Love Sport Radio. And tonight I've been sitting in for Haley and Sam. And you and I have been talking about dating, love, and sex. I can't believe how many topics we've covered, from celibacy to things like shy guys who don't know how to ask a woman out, to, are beards a turnoff? Because evidently the stats say women are getting turned off by all these men with beards. And it was great to talk to people about what their biggest turnoff was. Now, I did say we were talking dating, love, and sex tonight. So sticking with sex, we've all been to parties, birthday parties, wedding parties. But have you ever been to a sex party? Are you curious about what goes on at a sex club or things like group sex? Was it something you would jump at the chance to try? Maybe you've done it and you'd love to do it again. Or what was the worst experience you've ever had? Maybe that was going to something like a sex party. And I wonder, has your partner ever pressured you to go to one? I get a lot of emails about that kind of pressure. And, one partner wants to try a sex party and the other partner doesn't. Well, we can find out about one exclusive club that regularly hosts parties right now. They're called Killing Kittens, and on Twitter they're killing_kittens, and their website is killingkittens.com. The woman who started it all joins me now. It's Emma Sayle. Hello, Emma.
Hey, how are you?
I'm really well. It's been quite a few months since you and I talked. We've spoken so many times over the years about your amazing parties. But for people who don't know anything about Killing Kittens, when did you decide to establish it?
It was in 2005, so 13 years ago.
Lucky 13.
Exactly.
And had you been going to sex parties and you knew something about the scene, or did you just kind of think, I'm going to start my own thing?
No, I hadn't been going to sex parties, but I was doing PR, and I'd started doing the PR for the Big Erotica show, and met sort of lots of weird and wonderful people in the adult world. And it was kind of the time that Sex and the City was out, and Anne Summers had hit the high street, and there was all this talk about, the female sexuality and being allowed to have an opinion as a woman. But I was very much not seeing that happening in the real world. And everything within the adult world and the sex world seemed to be run by men, claiming it was for women.
Yeah.
So I wanted to launch something that was very much for women, where the women felt in control and could be completely in control of their sexuality and explore in a very non-judgmental, controlled environment.
And I was going to say, did some of these men who are running like sex parties and stuff, did they kind of, give you a warm reception? Oh, Emma Sayle, the new kid the new kit on the block for Killing Kittens? Or?
No, and they still don't.
Really?
And it's not just guys, it's girls, it's women as well, who are in the adult world, and they just think that, that I'm an imposter, that because I wasn't, I'm not into it myself, I couldn't possibly understand it. And I think actually, we've been around 13 years, which is longer than most of these setups. And I think a lot of that is because I'm not involved on a personal level. I'm able to have that step back to see what people do want, because sex is so personal, it's so emotional. And I think if you're tits up in the middle of it, it's very difficult to have a clear head.
Yeah, I suppose, and you might kind of put things into your slant. Like if you were totally into bondage and domination, then you might theme your parties that way, whereas people want to try lots of different things. So, if you're a step back, I can see how that would work, because you'd kind of just look at what everybody's telling you that they're into, and you'd be happy to sort of provide different sort of opportunities and experiences.
Exactly. And, it's very easy to, if one person says, this is what you should be doing, it'd be very easy to go, well, we should be doing that. But actually, it might be one person saying that and 1,000 people saying the complete opposite. So, we very much listen to what our members want and are constantly asking, and we don't just suddenly jump when someone gives us an idea. It's more of a case of, well, if we're seeing that, if we're hearing the same thing over months from loads of different members, then we'll look at it.
That's so cool. And what about, now I know what Killing Kittens means, you know, the name, because you've told me, but for those who don't know, where did the name Killing Kittens come from? Because as an animal lover and a cat lover, the first time I heard it was like, what? Killing kittens?
I know, I'm a dog lover. It's cyber slang for every time. Basically, there's an expression that every time you masturbate, God kills a kitten. So if you're having a wank, then you're killing a kitten. It's basically where it came from, and I was at a very drunken wedding in Ibiza. I don't think I'd slept for about 3 days.
That's some wedding.
And someone, you know, a guest who couldn't make the wedding phoned in and asked the groom if everyone was just, you know, you guys just all sat around killing kittens right now. And we had this whole conversation about what that meant.
Yes.
And I thought, I quite like that. And I like the 2 Ks. So from day one, it's always been KK. And that was it, really.
Yeah, I love it. And so tell me, what do you think makes a Killing Kittens sex party stand apart from, you know, what we kind of, I think, you know, from media and from films and television, we think of, you know, sex parties can be quite sleazy, some of them. I mean, so what sets Killing Kittens apart?
Well, with us, it's never been, even from day one, there's never been the pressure that you've got to have sex. It's very much, it's a party, and if you want to have sex, you can. And at the same time, we have the rules that we don't let single men in, that any guy that comes, you know, has to be accompanied by a woman, and the rules are that guy can't speak to women they don't know. They have to wait for the girls to do the approaching. So it's very much female-led, female-driven.
Which I think is
and that takes
fantastic.
Yeah, and there's no pressure. So actually, you get some parties where 50% of the people, they just come and have a good party and they keep their clothes on. They just like the atmosphere, they like the members, they like, you know, you go out to a lot of clubs and bars, just normal ones or pubs, and you feel dirty at the end of it because you try and, well, not now, I'm turned 40, but, you know, in my 20s, when I, you know, you'd walk across the room, and you'd have about 8 different hands trying to get up your skirt. Yeah,
and guys just hitting on you.
But apparently that's acceptable, whereas, you know, you go to a Kittens Kittens party, and you feel, as a woman, you feel completely relaxed and you can dance around in your underwear, and no one touches you.
Well, exactly. And I think, you know, I have to say, Emma, before we go any further, I know what you look like. So even if you're about to turn 40, I've just turned 40, you'll still get a lot of people hitting on you. Come on, darling.
I don't know. I'm currently 7.5 months pregnant, so I'm like a beached whale right now.
Then again, there are those fetish sites for men who get off on pregnant women, you know, so hey.
I know.
You know,
we get pregnant women at the parties quite a lot, actually.
Oh, I want to hear about that.
It's like naked...
I was just going to say, if you could stay with me, we're just going to take a quick break and we're going to hear all about that, okay? So I'm talking to Emma Sayle right now about Killing Kittens, these sex parties. We're going to find out what goes on at those. I wonder if you've ever been to a sex party or if you just fantasized about it. I'm Dr. Pam here with you on Love Sport Radio. Thanks for joining me tonight. I've been sitting in for Haley and Sam. Yes, I'm Dr. Pam here with you. And right now I'm talking to Emma Sayle from Killing Kittens. Check out their website, killingkittens.com. And on Twitter, it's at @killing_kittens. Emma, thanks for staying with me. Now,
no worries.
Just before the break there, you were saying about, you know, you're 7.5 months pregnant and how sometimes you get pregnant women coming to the parties. Wow, tell me about that.
No, we do. And I think for anyone listening that has been pregnant, you go through very different phases.
Yes, I've been pregnant.
You know, I mean, to be honest, most of my phases, this is number 3, you know, I have not felt like some really hot, sexy female. But you do get, you get moments where you just go, you know, your hormones are up and you just want to be exactly properly rampant and just properly secure and properly sexy in yourself. And that's what was, you know, and some women actually have that stage for, you know, most of their pregnancy, especially if they've got another half that is telling them how hot they are.
Yeah.
So we do get, you know, most parties there'll be one pregnant person.
And how do people respond to that? I was going to say, because I think a lot of people might be quite surprised. I mean, people are fine, and a lot of the time though, these women aren't there to sleep with other people. They're there to dance around in hot lingerie and maybe have, you know, sex with their other halves. Yeah.
They're not really the ones that will be there to, shag as many men as possible.
So,
it's just more just feeling really empowered and just hot in yourself and having that opportunity to go, look at me.
I was going to say, so
I'm owning it.
Do you get quite a few exhibitionists then who actually just come
Yes.
and like to show off,
Yeah, no, we get a lot of exhibitionists. And that's the thing, we get a lot of couples who are exhibitionists who just love, they come and they get turned up on the atmosphere and they love performing in front of people and they love people watching them, and that makes them feel empowered and hot. There's different reasons, and we get a lot of couples where the woman in the couple is curious or bisexual, and likes girls. The husband or boyfriend is completely in with us, and just goes, well, she likes girls, and just I don't feel threatened by that. That's just who she is, and I want her to be happy. So we come here, and it's all about her hooking up with other girls.
Well, friends of mine.
So often we get groups of guys at the bar just chatting and having drinks, and that all their wives are just off.
Having their girly time. Really great friends of mine, that's exactly the reason why they went, because she's bi-curious. He's totally, respectful of her desires. And so they've gone along a couple times, and just so she can sort of play out her bi-curious fantasies. And, who are we to judge them? They've got a really solid marriage. They've been together like 16 years.
Yeah, that's what I say about a lot of the members. People often judge and go, well, they're desperate and they're, trying to, rectify their relationship and they're not happy. And I'm actually, if you actually came, it's the exact opposite. A lot of the time with the majority of the members, they're some of the most secure couples I know. They're just doing it together and they're secure in that. They're not bored or, going off with secretaries or shagging the gardener behind people's backs. It's just, they're doing it together and they're choosing to do it together and they're communicating and they have very solid, secure relationships. So
what happens?
It is what it is.
I've got so many questions. What happens when, say, as you say, women are supposed to do the approaching? What happens when a guy does the approaching? Do you guys, you've got security who can just tell him off or say he needs to leave, or how do you handle those difficult situations?
Yeah, I mean, we have security at all the parties wandering around. We also have girls, the staff, who sort of wander around, because they're also checking that people aren't on their phones, because we ban mobile phones.
Yeah.
But also it's very self-policing, so the members are very aware. So what often happens is, if a guy starts being, a bit too friendly or handy, with a girl, she'll say, you're not meant to be doing that, so get off.
Yes.
So it's sort of, you have that element. But the fact that every man in there has come accompanied by a woman means they're not in there on their own. There is a woman that's responsible for them and actually is responsible for making sure they behave.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Now, how do people dress up? I mean, because you have some themed parties, or you've got themed rooms, haven't you? Like you do have the bondage room, and so do people come?
Yeah, at some of the big ones, we have like a dungeon. Yeah, the dungeon room with a dungeon master,
and not a dungeon mistress.
Yeah, no, we've got. Well, fun enough, we've now got a dungeon mistress, and the next June one in 2 weeks' time, we've got a very cool dungeon mistress.
Yeah, because I think that, I think women mistresses are more interesting than male masters, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, no, she's great. But no, to be honest, most of our events are just sort of cocktail dress. So guys will be in suits, women will be in little dresses. Every so often we'll do a themed one. We always have an annual birthday party. It's always themed. We did Cosmic Kittens last year, which had a lot of silver dresses going on. So yeah, we always do. Often there's a little bit of a token thing, like all that glitters, or a white party, or red and black, or something like that. But nothing. Nothing hectic.
And in the dungeon themed room, it is proper BDSM, or is it quite vanilla? And for anybody listening,
it's very vanilla.
Is it?
I mean, there's so many setups out there that do BDSM type parties and events and hardcore, and it's it's a whole different world. And actually, that needs to be done properly. And it's also, there's so much of, the dominator and the submissives and the control, and it's just, and actually a lot of it actually against how we operate.
Yeah.
You know, we're not about submissive females.
Yes.
Or men, you know, punching the hell out of or strangling some female. It's not.
Oh, that's horrible.
You know, and I get it, each to her own, but it's a different setup.
Yeah.
So it's more, when we do add a kink room, it's more an introduction and vanilla and, you know, kind of this is how you can do rope, you know, different rope tying up, and these are the, you know, the spankers and the paddles. And
so you've got quite an array of spanking equipment and whips and things.
Yeah. So she's got the dominatrix has got all of them, and the mistress, and has a few slaves to demonstrate on, or will, you know, get members to demonstrate on. So it's very much more sort of, kind of an introduction type.
And what about wearing masks? This whole thing about...
So all the events, all the Full Killing Kittens events, we people have to arrive wearing masks.
And do they ever come off? Do sometimes in the throes of passion, a mask might flip off and land on somewhere else?
To be honest, most people take their masks off. We ask them to stay on during the drinks reception, the first couple of hours.
Yeah.
And then most people take their masks off, because if you've ever worn a mask, they're really annoying. You can't see out of them.
I have been to like a Venetian masked thing, and they are really annoying after a while. Unless you're really into submission and your master is telling you have to keep the mask on or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So how much do you see like more group sex going on? I mean, you know, where people kind of pile in and, you know, everybody's at it.
There's always, at most of the venues we use, there's always one big playroom.
Yeah.
And they will, that gets busy, and just sort of Dante's Inferno type thing going on. With limbs everywhere. So there's always an element.
And are there loads of free condoms around, I hope, so people are playing safer?
Safe sex. Yeah. So we, all the rooms will have bowls of condoms in.
Yeah. And what tips do you give to people maybe who are, you know, like who get in touch and they kind of just want to know about it? I mean, you know, and they're not sure if their partner wants to do it. I mean, do you have any kind of advice that you give people, or do you just kind of let them read the stuff about it and that's it? You know, then they make up their mind.
No, we have. We just say we've got some big community groups. We've got community kittens out there. We've got big chat groups. Some of the chat groups have only 100 people in, and so you can come in and be part of the online community and chat to other members and chat to community kittens and get feedback and sort of. They're the best people to speak to about their experiences and how to broach it with partners. And we've got an in-house relationship expert, Emma Kenny, who's that answers questions and has one-on-one sessions with couples and people, and girls members. But there's also I often say, just if you're curious, come along. Just come along to an event, agree to keep your clothes on, and just see what it's about.
Yeah, see, that's the great thing. There's not pressure. You don't have to strip off and pile in. And has anybody ever told you that they regretted going along and that maybe, their partner got jealous, or they got jealous of their partner, seeing their partner with someone else? I mean...
Well, do you know what? There's always a bit of that. And, but you just don't know until I don't think there's a massive regret. As long as you communicate and you have rules within your relationship, I think there's more regret. If someone got a little bit overexcited and you have an agreement not to sleep with anyone, and then the next thing you know, one of you tits up, and sort of then you can have an argument, and then it might, but it very rarely happens. There's always that risk.
Yeah, and I think you're right about the ground rules between couples. I mean, I once had a couple say to me that they had agreed no oral sex with other people, but they could have full sex as long as condoms were used. So to them...
Then a lot of people think oral is
so intimate.
Full.
Yeah. And so,
I've got friends who think that,
Yeah. And I think, well, every couple has to work those things out, don't they? If oral's okay, or full penetration is okay, or just kissing is okay, or touching, or whatever, Yeah,
well, a lot of people think kissing's, more intimate than actually just, bending over and having a shag without the kissing. It's sort of, that people have different perceptions of views. standpoints in their mind of what's really intimate and what actually is just sort of an act.
Yeah.
So each their own. Really.
I think a lot of people...
They've got to communicate, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people told me that, the anticipation of going, that they get really anxious the first time they've gone to something like this. And I'm talking other sex party organizations too. And they really feel so anxious about it. But once they get there and actually they see that everyone else is kind of free and easy about these things, it's very reassuring. So I think people do, they kind of think, oh, this is a great idea. And then the night approaches and they're freaking out about it. I've known people who've decided to duck out of these sort of things and not go along because of that.
We often get people, and we do get, and all we can do is say, look, just come along for the drinks reception, just meet the members, and you'll soon see that actually it's not. And a lot of people will say, this is not what we're expecting. Yeah. This is just way more chilled. The people are really nice. We've made really good friends, and it's just not actually. It becomes not about the actual sex.
Now we talked about exhibitionism and how some couples who come along, want to show off. What about the voyeuristic side? Do you know they're like regulars who go just to watch, because that's such a big sort of kink, I think, for a lot of people, just watching other people.
Yeah, no, massively. There's a lot of couples that come along, and as I said, they come and they love the people there and they just socialise, but they get really turned on by the atmosphere. And then they say, they leave and go back to their hotel and have some mind-blowing sex. Because, they've just come and it's just the atmosphere. And also they feel like, you don't have to actually have sex to feel like you're doing something naughty and something that just the two of you doing it is your secret and you're doing something together is enough, just turning up, than actually getting naked and tits up in the middle of it. It's, that's enough to a lot of people.
And what do you think is the most erotic thing? You say you don't get involved, but when you've gone along to see the party, see them in action, how they're going, because you've organized it or you're a big part of this, what do you think personally is the most erotic thing about it?
About it?
Yeah,
I would
about
say
one of the parties.
I would just say, it's everything except the actual act of sex. It's the whole setting and the ambience and the lighting and the mood and just the charge, the sexual charge when you turn up for that drinks reception with everyone knowing what's going to happen is more erotic than actually going into, the big playroom at 2 a.m. and there's 40 people all naked.
I can imagine, yeah. And for you, okay, you're on child number 3 and whatever. Do you ever get fed up with this kind of sex scene, or are you kind of, because you have that slight distance from it, that you don't see yourself ever giving this up as your profession, so organizing? We
do have really funny conversations in the office, and where we're having really serious conversations, and then realise that we're all completely anaesthetised to the subject, yes. Or you having it in a cafe and you realise that all the tables around you have stopped talking.
Because you're talking about the parties.
Because you're just having really serious conversations, about the condoms or what happened or an argument that a couple had or, really, but on a business level. Yeah. But to be honest, we're doing so much stuff, and actually over half our events we do now, we call them Curious Kittens events, don't involve actual sex. They're the talks and the workshops and the couples retreat weekends. It's more, a lot of them are, spiritual,
sort
of self
developing that erotic side of the relationship, I guess. Well, Emma, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. And again, your website is killingkittens.com, and on Twitter it's @killing_kittens. Thank you so much, Emma Sayle. I really appreciate that.
No worries.
And you will have learned a lot about sex parties, won't you? Stay with me here on Love Sport Radio. I'm Dr. Pam.